Hey everyone, happy Monday and welcome to another episode of Day in Life of Vintage Classic Specialist. So Mr. Rafa continued working on the red buggy here. So let's see what happened. As you can see, the very red, also very sparkly steering wheel is on, which is a bitchin' match to the rest of the car. Because you can never have too much red sparkle. I just love it. Look at that. And the steering wheel too. Oops, let's see. There we go. Focus. Yeah, crazy. Anyway, so yeah, steering wheel went on today, and the adapter. The funny thing is that the owner bought a new Grant steering wheel adapter, which was pretty much looked identical to the old one. So the car had a Grant steering wheel on it before, one of those old black kind of foam ones. Anyway, so we test fit when the owner was up here one day. We test fit the new adapter to make sure it fit on there right, and it wasn't really a good fit on the splines. I mean, it slid on, but it was actually kind of loose. So, obviously without tightening the nut down, you could kind of like do this and feel the splines on the adapter and the steering shaft kind of clanking against each other. Like it wasn't a real precise fit. And so we took the old steering wheel, which still had the Grant adapter on it, and it slid on nice and snug and just seemed to overall fit better. So what Rafa did was he took the old adapter as far as the spline part and cleaned it up and painted it and stuff like that, and then used that, but then used all the new, like the cover here and the horn mechanism bit and all that stuff. So yeah, kind of funny because it looked like the exact same part, but the old one fit much better, which I don't know, maybe in hindsight is not that surprising. The old one was probably from 1968 or so when this buggy was built, and who knows, back then they might have been made in the good old USA. I'm sure more recent ones are made in China like everything else, and the quality seems to have gone down. So anyway, there you go. So luckily we had the old one and fit really well, and then we combine that with the new parts, and there you go. So super nice fit now. Anyway, so that went on today, and Rafa wired up the horn. We're still not 100% sure, but we're pretty sure that the horn with this kit is going to work well with the VW horn wiring, but we'll find out. And we can find out now because this car, as of today, has a battery. Ooh, look at that. So I went to the auto parts store with tape measure in hand, and I knew pretty much the size of the space there that we had to work with. And so I found a battery. I don't remember what, let's see, what is this? It's a 96R DLG, whatever the hell that means. But anyway, that's the size. So yeah, it fit in the little recess there very nicely. And then Rafa and I talked about ways to hold it down, and of course we wanted to use one of the old school style VW straps, and we figured out how to do that. So basically the little connector, whatever you want to call it, that's normally welded on the pan, well, there's no pan here, just fiberglass. So we riveted it onto the body there, and then the strap, because there's not much room back in there, normally the strap is on a Beetle at least, well, and a bus for that matter, the strap goes down onto a stud. But in this case, there's no room there, so the other end of this strap is basically riveted on this wall here, down in there. And so, yeah, there you go. Battery's all nice and secure in there. And we got to use a cool VW part instead of some, like I mentioned before, instead of some ugly auto parts store thing with big wing nuts on it or something. Looks about as factory as you can get. So there you go. So fun little stuff. We like doing that kind of thing. The other thing is the starter went on this today, which doesn't sound very exciting, but for those of you that are not aware of this, so BBT, who is over in Europe, makes a starter. There may be other people who manufacture these, but they make a starter that's got a 6-volt gear on the solenoid here, but then it's actually a 12-volt starter. And so this car is a 12-volt car, but it's got a 40-horse motor with a 6-volt flywheel and so on. So the car originally had a 6-volt starter, which again is the only thing compatible with a 6-volt flywheel, and it was just being run at 12 volts. So would spin super fast, but you know, it's just not really a great way to do things. So I had Eddie over at Eddie and Dave's garage order me one of these bitchin' BBT ones that's got 12 volts, you know, guts, but then it's got the 6 volts gear here and so on. So yeah, there you go. If anyone's having a 6-volt flywheel car and running 12 volts, then pick up one of these bad boys and it solves all your problems. So that went in today, and the battery got mostly wired up. I don't know. Yeah, I can see it looks like he's got it connected to the transmission up there too. So excuse me. Yeah, so that's kind of what happened on this one today. So pretty big thing here, getting a battery in it and getting that all hooked up. So yeah, pretty soon we'll be able to start testing the electrical on here and moving right along on this thing. Although I don't know that we're going to work on this one tomorrow, because I think we're going to work on this bus here. So I actually worked on this today, so that's a good segue here. So today what I did was I put on the rear apron and the rear engine to body seal. And let me talk about that for a minute, because here's how we do this. So the apron, is those of you that aren't really familiar with these buses, that the apron on these actually comes off. So you can see here where there's a joint, likewise here, and then there's 4 bolts, 2 there, and then a couple like sheet metal screws. So this whole thing comes out. So if you're not sure what that looks like, check maybe a video last week and you'll see the bus sitting there with no apron in there. Anyway, so the rear engine to body seal, which is this one around here, what most people do is they'll actually take the seal and they'll cut it about right here on both sides, and then they'll slide this part in that kind of runs, you know, like along the above the valve covers here. They'll slide those pieces in, and then this piece here, which would be what's left if you cut it here and here, they'll put that on the apron, and then when you slide the apron in, you've got the complete seal, albeit cut here and here. Well, that is not the way that Volkswagen did it. The way VW did it was, which is how we do it, is the seal is left as one piece here. So see, there's no seam there at all. It's all one piece. So admittedly, that is pretty much a pain in the ass to put in that way, because what you have to do is you put the seal on the apron, but then you have like, about a foot of seal kind of hanging out on both sides. And then what you got to do is let me zoom out a little bit here. You take the apron and you kind of hold it up here with one hand, or, juggle it balance it on your knee or something. And then you start feeding the seal into its channel on both sides here. And then you kind of keep advancing the apron and feeding the seal on either side until you get everything pretty much all up to where it needs to go. And then you go ahead and bolt it in. That's not nearly as easy as it sounds like it would be. And so one thing I had to do before I got to that point was kind of massage these channels on both sides so that the seal would actually like slide nicely into it. Of course, we lubricate the seals up with some WD-40 and stuff like that, but I spent quite a bit of time just kind of tweaking these channels here, which is actually kind of hard when the motor is in. But just kind of like fine-tuning these channels so that the seals could kind of feed in that way on both sides. And then finally, when I was happy with how the channel went in, with how the seal went in, then I put the seal on the apron and then, did like I described earlier. So pain in the butt, to do it that way. Much easier to just cut the seal and install it in 3 pieces, but we like those kind of details here, and we like, for the most part, doing things the way VW did, and this is one of those little details that you probably won't see a lot of people going through the extra effort to do it that way and leave the seal as one piece, but again, we like that kind of stuff. So there you go. And then once I got that in, had to do a little bit of grinding on the latch here, this little piece that actually latches down there. It wasn't latching when you closed it all the way, so carefully ground this surface here until it latched, and it works good now. So the next thing will be to put the seal, engine compartment seal, on there. So that was most of my day on this bus. The other thing I did was, if you watch the channel regularly, you know that I ground the brake caliper on that side last week to get a bus 15-inch wheel to fit. So today I went ahead and did the same on this side, got the caliper all ground and then repainted so that the bus 15-inch wheel, which is not that wheel, will fit on there. And then I went ahead and ordered the wheels from Wolfsburg West. We'll have them tomorrow, and then we'll start getting those powder coated, painted, order the tires. I got spacers coming, studs, lug nuts, all that good stuff. So it won't be too long, and this bus will be sitting on its final wheel and tire combo, and it's gonna look freaking killer. So only other thing that I did today of note is worked on this guy a little bit, fuel injected motor for the 68 double cab. And a couple things. One is I put a 45-degree outlet here on the fuel pump outlet, and it's a pretty tight fit in there with the mustache bar, which is this big bar across the back of the motor here where it mounts to the chassis. So spent quite a bit of time kind of tweaking that fitting and getting it to where hopefully I can get an actual hose on it with AN fitting here and clear everything. There's not a lot of room in there, but I think I've got the fitting itself oriented in such a way that it's gonna clear everything when I go to connect a hose to it. So I did that, and then I started playing around with how we're gonna put the fresh air hoses for the heater on here. So normally with a stock exhaust coming out of the heater boxes, there's this kind of like bulb shaped thing that fits here that kind of goes on the exhaust, and then the tubes sort of plug into that through like another little collared thing. But with the header here, the Sidewinder header from A1, there's not really, well, first off, there's not that bulbous looking piece there, and so it's just totally different. So I think what I'm going to end up doing is pretty much what I have mocked up here with a piece of damaged tube that I didn't feel bad about playing around with, is pretty much connect that directly to the heater box like I have it here, and then it'll just kind of go itself around the header here. I may put some header wrap or something on this section of the header, because I'm not sure if it will if it'll burn this paper hose kind of touching it directly like it is now. So I may put something in between those to kind of act as a heat shield, because I can't imagine that this sort of paper hose was going to like sitting right against the exhaust header. So probably need to insulate that a little bit. But anyway, just small things like that with aftermarket stuff. Sometimes you gotta be a little bit creative how you connect things here. So pretty much this is gonna run up about like you see here, and then it's gonna have to go over the throttle linkage. So from the fan shroud here, it'll come out more or less straight out and then bend down and go down to the tube like you see here. Anyway, not the most exciting detail ever, but it's one of those things putting a car together where you gotta figure it out, because these aftermarket parts don't really allow you to put it together the way VW did. So yeah, it's part of the fun of the process. Anyway, that would be it for today, guys. So appreciate you watching, and we will see you again tomorrow.